everyone. It's time we get started. My name is Pat Mycone. I'm the president of the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and I'm here with our board, who will introduce later, and our speakers. I want to welcome you all, welcome everyone, all our members, our guests, and especially our honorable elected leaders. I want to welcome, of course, Shari Friedenrich. She's our elected Orange County Treasurer, who'll be our speaker. And then I especially want to highlight Shirley Morgan. She's up here in the front. Shirley has been our president for 10 years, and she has, after her tenure of being our president for 10 years, she's been our historian and our newsletter editor and our flyer. She makes all our flyers. And she also did our robocalls, which I'm doing a little bit now. But anyway, Shirley, we're just so grateful to you, and she's up here. So thank you, everyone. We're going to video our meeting, so we're going to get started right away. So feel free to take your seats. So now I'd like to invite up Alan Clark. Alan is a chaplain of the American Legion Post 257, and he's going to open our meeting in prayer. And I just want to say that with all of the anti-Semitism going around in our country and around the world, we are we're going to be saying both the Christian and the Jewish prayer at our meetings from now on. Okay, we're honoring both. We are a Judeo-Christian nation. So with that, Alan, thank you.
Prior to 1776 and on to now, over 1 million Americans have died for our great country. All the races, colors, and creeds have served us in the past, and so many of them who served us now. Also, millions of civilians as well, and many have died. They have all served our country, the United States of America, land of the free, home of the brave. We honor you all. We thank you, Lord, for this great nation you have created. We especially pray for today for unity for our president, President Trump, and his servant, Elon Musk. Bind all evil against your will, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. The greatest commandment, Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter, reading from verses 4 through 9. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. We shall love the Lord our God with all our heart, and with all our soul, and with all our might. And these words I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit down in your house, when you walk by the way, and when you lie down. And when you rise, you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. Shalom Aleichem Shalom.
Thank you, Alan. He did research on that. We appreciate it. And yes, we are standing with our Jewish brothers and sisters. Next, I want to, another group of people we want to honor are the January 6th prisoners who are still, the DOJ is now looking into it all. When we had Jeffrey Scott Brown in March, many of you were here, most of you probably were. Do you remember we had the wonderful video pledge of allegiance with President Trump? Well, we thought we'd play that again today as we head into July 4th. We will not be meeting July 4th because this isn't an election year, and we will next year. But to celebrate July 4th and to honor the J6ers, we're going to do this pledge. So JR has set it up. So here we go. If you want to rise, please, if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
USA, 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 USA. Thank you, JR. JR set that up. Now it's time for Karen Blanco to come up and read her Americanism piece.
Anyway, good morning, everybody. Okay, in 1787, at 81 years old, Benjamin Franklin represented Pennsylvania at the Constitutional Convention. He was the oldest delegate, and although he did not take an active part, his calm and wise demeanor helped to keep the convention on track. 3 years later, Franklin passed away, and some 20,000 people honored him at his funeral. Franklin lived from 1706 to 1790. He is the only founding father to have signed all 4 of the key documents in American history. 1, the Declaration of Independence. 2, the Treaty of Alliance with France in 1778, which formalized France's financial and military support for America's revolutionary new government. 3, the Treaty of Peace with Great Britain in 1783, signed by U.S. and British representatives to end the Revolutionary War. And finally, the U.S. Constitution. So Franklin was a respected and admired negotiator and statesman. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, to Josiah Franklin and his second wife, Abiah. Benjamin was one of 10 children born to Abiah. Benjamin had only 2 years of formal schooling, so as he grew up, he schooled himself by reading every book he could find, studying algebra, geometry, navigation, grammar, logic, natural and physical sciences. He partially mastered French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Latin. His efforts made him one of the best educated persons of his time. Having worked in his father's soap and candle making shop at age 10, cutting wicks and melting tallow, at age 12, Franklin became an apprentice printer at his older brother's printing business. And as an adult, he finally started a printing business of his own. Franklin ended up printing the Pennsylvania Gazette for 37 years. And I'm sure we can all remember the famous sayings Franklin published in both his newspaper and in Poor Richard's Almanac, sayings which emphasize industry, frugality, and thrift, such as, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise, God helps those who help themselves, a small leak can sink a great ship, and so on. In 1730, at age 24, he married Deborah Reed, the daughter of his first landlady. A devoted couple, they raised 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. She was afraid to travel on the sea to be with him on his trips to Europe, so she kept their home fires burning. She died in 1774, and at his death 16 years later, he was buried beside her in Christ Church Cemetery in Philadelphia. So as a creative and enthusiastic scientist and inventor, Franklin studied the movement of the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Ocean, charting its course, recording its depth, speed, and temperature. I wonder how he did that out on a ship, but I couldn't find that information. He invented a better heating stove by arranging its flues more efficiently, thereby keeping a large room warmer while using less fuel. He invented the lightning rod after doing his life-threatening experiments with electricity. Remember how he flew his homemade kite in a thunderstorm and almost electrocuted himself? His lightning rod invention subsequently saved countless lives and buildings. And then my favorite, he is credited with the invention of bifocal glasses. He used two separate pairs of glasses, one for distance, one for up close, which grew cumbersome for him to manage. Franklin wrote to a friend, quote, "Finding this need to change glasses troublesome, I had the glasses cut and half of each kind put together in the same circle," unquote. With his new invention, when he attended diplomatic dinners in Europe, for instance, he was first able to clearly see the food on his plate and then to look up smoothly and see who was speaking across the table. He told his friend that by being able to see the facial expressions of his dinner companions clearly, quote, "I understand French better by the help of my spectacles," unquote. He was simply delighted with his invention. And finally, Benjamin Franklin was a devoted American patriot, wholeheartedly dedicated to building a successful United States and deeply committed to our cause for freedom. At one particular point in the Revolutionary War, the British offered the American patriots the chance to surrender without punishment and to be placed once again under British rule as colonies subject to the king. Writing to Lord Richard Howe, a British commander whom he knew well, Franklin's fiery and passionate words speak for themselves, promising that America would never capitulate. Quote, "It is impossible that we should think of submission to a government that has, with the most wanton barbarity and cruelty, burnt our defenseless towns in the midst of winter, and is even now bringing foreign mercenaries to deluge our settlements with blood. These atrocious injuries have extinguished every remaining spark of affection for that parent country we once held so dear," unquote. So as we prepare to celebrate our country's 250th birthday next year, let's be proud of our founding fathers, such as Benjamin Franklin, for giving us our uniquely special country. Let's always hold our heads up high as patriotic Americans and continue to work hard daily to preserve this wonderful gift they left for us. So thank you for listening, and God bless America. That's it for me. Thank you.
Karen, I just want to thank you. Karen loves to do this, and I feel like, she brings them alive to us. When, they say, wouldn't you like to have dinner with one of these people? As you bring them alive, it makes them feel real to us, and we'd love to have dinner with them. Okay, now I'd like to bring up Betty Oliger, who is our Vice President of Programs, who's going to introduce our honorable speaker, Betty Oliger. She's doing a wonderful job. Give her a hand.
Trying to keep it interesting. Shari Friedenrich, an active licensed CPA, was elected as Orange County Treasurer in 2010 and was re-elected in 2014, 18, and 22, running unopposed. Shari is the first woman ever to be elected as the Orange County Treasurer and only the fourth woman elected in a countywide race, holding the highest countywide vote total of close to 500,000 votes. Shari's theme is common sense leadership, and she operates under the principle that government should work for you. She has streamlined operations using technology to eliminate manual processes and implemented best business practices to reduce operational risk. In her 14 years in office, she has saved almost $1 billion for Orange County taxpayers and considers herself a mini Doge before it became popular with all of her efforts to make government efficient and cost-effective. As Orange County Treasurer, Shari is the banker and responsible for the over $16 billion in the county treasury, an ex officio member of the 9-member Orange County Employees Retirement System, managing $24 billion, a member of the county's Audit Oversight Committee, the Deferred Compensation Committee, and the Public Financing Advisory Committee, and the OCERS Audit Committee. Shari is a national leader in the field of municipal treasury professionals. She has been elected by her peers in leadership roles and is a past president of the California Association of County Treasurer Tax Collectors for the 58 counties in the state of California, a past president of the California Municipal Treasurers Association, and a past president for the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. Shari is also a local leader in the financial field. Some of her honors: receiving the Leadership Award for Public Service from the Orange County Business Council for her work in cutting red tape and providing red carpet service, a Rose Award from the OC Tax for streamlining property taxes, selected twice by the Orange County Business Journal in their OC 500 list that honors the most influential individuals in Orange County, and made an honorary member of the Orange County Association of Realtors for her work in transparency of property taxes. Shari received the Trailblazer Award and was also selected as one of 3 experienced women to watch by the California Society of CPAs. She's a Chamber of Commerce member in several cities and also a member of the Huntington Beach Republican Women and the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and has been a lifelong Republican. She graduated summa cum laude from Washington State University with a degree in business with an emphasis in accounting. She previously worked for Deloitte & Touche as an audit manager, at Boeing Corporation as a division controller, and at the City of Huntington Beach, where she was the elected treasurer for over 15 years and was the first woman and CPA in this position. Shari has been active in community organizations for over 25 years, including being president of the Huntington Beach Rotary Club, president of the Seroptimus Club of Huntington Beach, and president of the Alumni Association for Washington State University. Education is also very important. She's also a past Board of Directors and Audit Committee chair for the Washington State University Foundation Board, where she and her husband Clive were awarded their Biff Brotherton Award for volunteering and for their support of WSU last year. Shari and her husband have lived in Orange County for over 35 years. I welcome Shari. You make me breathless just reading it.
Well, thank you. Good morning to everyone. It's almost lunch, but it's not quite. I'd really like to thank President Pat and Betty for inviting me here today to speak to you, because I work for you, and I work kind of hard so I don't get down here as much as I'd like, but you know you're in my heart. We all have faith, and that's what's important, and I thank you. I'm thankful for each of you every day. I'm also thankful for your club, because you strive to elect Republicans that cut government spending, eliminate costly, overlapping, and unnecessary government programs. You bring in speakers that discuss the common values of economic prosperity, cutting taxes, and cutting government waste. Each of those beliefs are things that I also believe with my motto of common sense leadership. Today's topic is the state of the $17 billion treasury, which is your money. So don't forget, the money that government gets comes from taxpayers to provide every service we have, whether it's from the federal government, the state government, or here the property taxes. It goes for services for you. But this topic is so important that back in 1996, after the Orange County bankruptcy, when the Orange County treasurer lost $1.5 billion, the state legislature declared that the deposit and investment of public funds is an issue of statewide concern. So here we are on the 30th anniversary of the bankruptcy, and the Board of Supervisors has decided to take back the fiduciary responsibility, being the prudent investor standard, to manage the monies. So I am still the banker for the county, but I am no longer the chief investment officer. When I proposed my agenda item to delegate to me, they deleted that without notice. I have had clean records of investing. I have received accreditations to let us know. We were actually number 4 in the state this last year in our yield, and yield is the third objective, but you do want to earn a good yield, and we were also probably one of the safest, if not the safest, and had a high level of liquidity. And that's important because we have a lot of it's a challenging year this next year. We've had the airport fire, which was a fire that was started here in Orange County. It went on to go into a couple other counties, and it was determined the county was responsible for starting that fire. So we have a lot of challenges, and this is where we need good leaders who are going to bring in innovative ideas to save money, to cut waste, and to make sure that those services that you deserve are being provided. With all of the items that I have done, they determined that they wanted to take back the investing authority. And they've also taken back the oversight committee that was in place, because by law, that was a committee that was managed by the treasurer. So they have taken items like the investment policy, which for any of you that might have a financial advisor or manage your own, you have to have a plan. What is your plan? Are you going to invest aggressively? Are you going to, invest passively? You have to have a plan, and that plan by law says it comes from the treasurer. And so they have produced an investment policy very, very similar to mine. So it is something very, very similar. But as you know, we live in a kind of a changing world. I mean, it seems like these last few months have been a lot of changes. The market's up, the market's down. We invest only in fixed income, which is a lot less volatile. It's not like the equities market, but we're very dependent on interest rates and managing those interest rates, because what happened in the Orange County bankruptcy is one of the reasons is the county treasurer was long. They had investments that were out a number of years and interest rates were low. Well, when interest rates went up immediately because of some economic issues, the value of their money went down. And so when they needed to make payroll, they couldn't sell those funds. So for me, I've been conservatively investing. We do not want to have another strike here at the county. And I can assure you that as of 12/31/24, the last day I was the fiduciary, we were in the best shape of all of our peers, San Diego County, Riverside, and so they have the responsibility. We need to make sure that we're watchdogs on them, because that's our money and we need to make sure it's safe. So with that, I am very blessed, however, and grateful that I have worked 28 years for each of you. I've accomplished a lot, but what happened yesterday was yesterday. I want to make sure that tomorrow I'm working for you hard, and I'm going to continue to put things in place. As was mentioned by Betty, I have saved taxpayers almost $1 billion, which kind of offsets that $1.5 billion loss that we had back in 1996. But, it's what I'm going to do tomorrow is important, because we need to have good leadership, common sense leadership that is putting innovative items in place. Government does not have any competition. So each of you, many of you were in businesses, maybe your own business. You might have worked for a large company, but you always had competitors to your businesses. So you were always pushing to say, how can we make things better? And that's what I have done at the county. I've moved a lot of cheese probably by saving $1 billion. I've proposed a lot of changes, and that sometimes isn't what the bureaucracy wants. They like to keep things the same way it's always been. But that is not my job. I work for you, and I am going to continue to do the things I think are important. Of course, we need to be respectful, professional. We need to engage our employees. We need to do all of the right things, but we do need to change if we are not efficient. So, for me, accurate and timely work is very important. And that is where I really have my base in the items I've done. I try to carry out my duties in a common sense, cost-effective, and efficient manner. And I'm very glad that it's become popular because it really hasn't been that much knowledge about it, but I've been doing it for these past really 28 years that I've been an elected treasurer, the last 14 years at the county. And one of the things that we have done is we are well known out of the county treasurers. We have the highest property tax collection rate in the state. Our collection rate is 99.2%. We hit 99.4 a couple of years ago, I think right before COVID, and I'm working to get back to that because everyone that pays timely is not paying that darn 10% fee, right? So, and if someone has the money to pay and they just forget, there's nothing I can do. I can't waive that fee. So my goal is to communicate effectively through the tax bills to make sure that you understand, you get that bill, you pay it timely, and then those dollars. So in the time I've been with the county, I've improved that collection rate by 1.5%. That means about $12 million is being saved by taxpayers annually because they're no longer paying that 10% fee. So these are things that really make a difference for us because that $12 million can now go back into the economy. They can take their family out to dinner. They can do whatever they want. They can donate it to charity, but those are dollars that come back. And that's why we need people who are looking at streamlining processes. And you know, what happens is if you don't pay your taxes, I sell your property. And we don't want that to happen. The good thing is I realize that it's your property. You know, you own it. And so I'm going to do everything I can to not sell it. And in the 14 years I've been here, I have only had about 8 auctions. We have canceled auctions 4 times because auctions are expensive. And we've gotten enough people to pay, it wasn't cost effective for us to have a tax auction. Now we are having a tax auction this year. The last tax auction was 2021, so we haven't had it for a while, and I'm hoping that all of the real properties are all paid off. There are some vacant properties out in Silverado Canyon that probably are kind of not worth very much, and they will probably end up going in the tax auction. And we have quite a few timeshares. So if you're interested in a timeshare in Newport Coast or Laguna Surf, please let me know. I've got on the back of my business card, I've got our auction. You can go to octreasurer.gov and go under property tax and property tax auction, and you can look at the properties here in Orange County that are for sale. But mostly it's going to be timeshares. So that's what I've been doing for you on the property tax side. I do collect the tax, the Prop 13 1%, on behalf of about 200 agencies here in the county. And that centralized back in 1978. We're blessed to have Prop 13. It helps keep each of you in your homes because in other states, those values go up every year and your taxes go up every year. So very important for us to have. So I've made significant efforts. When I came in, we had about 75% mailed payments and about 25% electronic payments. Now, I know that all of you probably like to mail your payments, but it's costly for me and my staff to process them. It takes a lot of manual work. So we've been able to switch that. So today, we have about 25% mailed payments and 75% electronic payments. Now, you might have heard the recent executive orders, one of those hundreds that Donald Trump is putting out, our president, and he said, no more paying taxes by mail, you have to pay online. Now, he has a date of next year to implement that, and there are some exemptions, but I do know that hopefully it's a longer transition period. A lot of people do probably still pay their income taxes by check, and you know, it is harder, and I know your group is very focused. So I'm going to be working for you, looking to say, we need to make sure that it fits the person, that we can't force them into doing something differently, but we do want government to be efficient. So for the property taxes, I'm not sure if you know, we are a donor county. A donor county means that you pay property taxes through the bill that I send to you. I collect those taxes, and then I distribute them to these 200 agencies. Well, The state is in charge of the schools, as we probably know. I'm sure you've, been involved in some of what's happening in the schools. And so the schools get 62 cents of the fund, of the dollar. So 62 cents goes to school, but a lot of that money goes to Northern California, for Northern California schools. So we are a donor county, and we need a Republican Assembly and Senate here in California to start getting back some of those dollars that we're sending to Northern California, because we need them here. We have needs that we have. In addition, cities on average get about 11 cents. Now, I have some bad news for you guys, because you're a fairly new city. Laguna Woods gets 0.009 cents of the tax dollar. So when you pay your property taxes, you don't even get a cent of that property tax dollar. Now, the funny thing, not funny actually at all, but your sister city over here, Laguna Beach, is the highest. They get almost 24 cents per dollar. Probably. And, but no, the schools get their money separately. So that goes to the city. It goes to, that actually goes to the city to pay for your general government expenses. So actually that's not true. I apologize. I'm accountable when I'm wrong. I fess up, because it is actually going to the city. It's just not covering a lot of the costs because it's so small. So we do have our property tax bills. We have our unsecured bills coming out soon. These are the business assessments, and if you know anyone with boats. Now, one of the things that I've done as a tax collector is kind of innovative. As you could see, I like doing things that save money. And I was a controller before here, where we were in competition with other companies. And so I was looking at our bills, and we were billing people $25 for taxes. And I said, I know we can't be producing that bill, the assessment, the assessor, the auditor controller for $25. Raises, salaries have gone up. So we identified through working with the assessor that our costs were now about $100. So we went to the Board of Supervisors. We said we'd like to raise this low value exemption to $100 so that Shari doesn't have to bill people at $80, $90, or $99, or at $25, and they approved it in a two-step approach, and we were able to send 40,000 less tax bills out. Wow. And we did not lose revenue, because I can tell you that the cost to collect $25 from one of you, if you didn't have the money to pay or you couldn't pay, the notice we sent, the postage, we spent well over that. So actually it was really a win-win. And we have Stephen Choi, who's carrying a bill for us this year to raise that from, it's really a assessed value of $10,000, of which 1% is $100. He's raising that assessed value to $50,000, and then you of course have to prove that your costs are higher before you can raise that. But in our case, why would we send a bill out for $25 and it costs us $100? Not a very good thing. So there's lots of these Doge things that we've been doing over the year that are very important. Couple other things that were important. Overall, the county has this 2% Prop 13 built in for market value increases annually, and it's only been 4 times in the last 40 years that the property tax has been below zero, that increase annually. And if you were a business and you always had a positive increase in revenue, that really helps. This last year, we had the average in the county was 5.41%. So certainly it was higher. We did have a lot of inflation. You probably know in your Medicare and your Social Security coming in, the prior year was 6.5%. And Santa Ana came in at the lowest rate. They were at 3.99%. So in terms of saving money, I want to just give you a few of the common sense things I've put in place since I've been in office at the county, even though I am just the banker. And one interesting thing is I'm the banker for both the county and the school districts and the community college districts. And guess who has the most money if you look at the county versus all of the educational districts? Community colleges has most of the money, and then the schools have more schools, so they really have a bulk. But the county has less than a majority of the money. And so now we have our governing body, the supervisors, who are only voted in by their district, that are managing money that is county-wide. That's why the treasurer is normally doing it, because I have a hat that covers all of these unrelated agencies. You need to be unbiased as a fiduciary. You can't be focused on your money. You need to be focused on making sure that you have a duty of care and loyalty. And so what have I done? So when I took office, John Morlock did a fabulous job. He had to get through the bankruptcy, of course, and get everything back started again. But there was a lot of inefficiencies that he just wasn't able to fix. When I came into office, we still had about 10 custodial accounts. And really, I'm supposed to have one pool with all the other 57 counties. So I said, a goal, we are going to get back to one pool. And finally, I've been here since 2011. We were able to accomplish it back in 2023. Bureaucracy is very difficult to make progress. It is hard getting things changed, but I'm so pleased we were able to get it into one custodial account, and we have, for the first time ever, rated the pool. So the good news is there is an oversight body looking at the pool, even though I'm not investing it. They are looking at it. Fitch Ratings came in, and we had the top rating when I was there and got it. And so there is independent oversight, which is on that. So very important. And as I mentioned, when I look at my performance versus the other counties, if you look at the county of San Diego, which of course is a great county, I mean, it's a wonderful place to live, but it's of course not the OC where we live. So we have about the same amount of assets under management, your money, the Treasury. And because we have been more strategic when I was there, we are able to save almost 50 million, we're able to bring in interest revenue of almost 50 million more annually than they do, because I put in a strategy several years ago that said we are going to make sure we manage to this duration, and it paid off. So very important that for us, we need leaders who are going to actually create revenue without getting it from you. So 2 things that we've done: we eliminated taxes, which who can eliminate taxes? Not many people, but as treasurer, I can do that because we want to only bill when it pays sense. And again, on the asset side, you want a return on your money. And so without taxing you, if I manage the money safely with liquidity, I can get a yield that is commensurate with the market, and that brings in revenue without actually taxing any of you. So that has really been my goal over the years. A couple of other things that we've been innovative on. This last year, we were the first county. We know that we have a lot of costs and in tax bills. And as you know, postage keeps going up. You probably don't do as much mailing as you used to, because postage, it's going to go up next month. So we have said we want to move to some electronic methods for people who aren't having to pay taxes. So if you have a mortgage, an in-pound account, you might have gotten a surprise last September, late September, early October, because we issued a secure postcard versus a tax bill, because your in-pound company your mortgage company pays the taxes for you for 99% of them. They coordinate with us. They tell us we are paying the taxes for this person, so we sent you a postcard. Now, it was sometimes well received. Sometimes people weren't happy. They still have their bill online, and we'll still send them a full bill. But government has to cut waste. We have to cut some of these administrative costs. So we are looking to do this secure postcard also for businesses, because a business is open for business, and we don't have to redact their bill online. It's just all there. So I am trying. I know it's difficult sometimes to cut some of these waste, but you as a group, you like that tax bill. I'm trying to listen to your needs, but also listen to some of those younger taxpayers who just want it online and save us money. Because at the end of the day, saving money is important, because we are the ones funding government. So one of the other things that we've done, and there's just many of these common sense changes over my 14 years, is if you didn't pay last year's bill, we send you what we call an invoice. So anyone that's in the accounting field, you have a statement and you have an invoice. An invoice is just the payment you owe now. A statement gives you all of your payment history if it's delinquent. And so when I came, we send out an invoice for property taxes. So your secured property tax is an invoice. And I found out that a lot of people they'd forgotten to pay last year's taxes, as maybe some of you. We all need help as we age to make sure we're remembering these items. And so I made the bill red. So at least it would stand out and make sure that someone looked at it, because a red bill sounds like it's something. Now, of course, red for us is mega and very important. So it's good, it's a good thing. But, we have to make some of these changes. It didn't cost us anymore. And we are down to about 10,000 delinquent taxpayers annually out of about 860,000 bills, this 99.2%. So we have been able to effectively communicate with taxpayers on these items. In addition, being a CPA, one of our early things that we did is I said I want people to get right to their bill. So there's a little QR code on your bill, and if you take your phone and your camera and you put it over and you look into the QR code, there's a little yellow box that comes up, and if you hit that box, it will take you directly to your parcel online. So if you want to look at your parcel online, you just go right to that QR code on your bill this year when it comes through, take you right there. You can either get a copy of your bill, you can pay right there, or you can get an online statement. Again, kind of innovation. We started QR codes back in 2011. Now, they're very popular these days, which I agree, because they're very useful. So we want to do things that are useful, and that's what I've been trying to do really every year. I think I'm just about out of time. I do want to say a couple things. One is I gave you some property tax tips. I'll send the electronic copy to Pat so that she can post it online. I'll also send her, April was National Financial Literacy Month, so because financial education is very important, I'm going to send her this that we produced, because I want people to pay their taxes. I want them to have their property, and so we want them to be financially literate. So that's a part of my program that I've brought to the county that I think is very important. And the last thing is we have, we put out on your table, if you didn't get one, come see me, or I'll leave some with Pat, a fraud-resistant pen. There's a little nib at the end you'll have to take off, a little nib, and we want you to give checks the boot, or consider giving checks the boot. A lot of fraud in checks, mailed checks. We see it all the time, and we want to protect your money. Paying online is easy. You go on, you take that QR code, get your niece or nephew or your grandchild to help, go online, you put in your banking information. We use a third-party secure site. You get your receipt right away. You don't have to worry about it waiting to come and your canceled check is your receipt. You get it right away, and then you're done. You can move on to those things you do. And I also have business cards here. It's got my personal phone on it. I'm just excited that I've been able to do the things that you have elected me to do. Promises made, promises kept. I have cut waste. I have made us efficient with and hopefully use less of your money than we would have. We do have a big race coming up next year for supervisor. Diane Dixon, who is currently our assemblyman, is running. She just announced, so I encourage you to find out, have her come down. We need a good conservative, common sense person to protect us here on the board. Again, I'm no longer the investor. They're the chief investment officer. Did you elect the supervisors to do that? Did you elect me? But it is by law. So I represent you. I'm grateful for everything each of you guys do every day, and I'm available and I work for you. So I'll open up for quick questions maybe.
We have time.
Okay.
We have time. Hold on, I'm going to get another.
Okay.
Anyone have questions?
Yes. The question is, who is doing the investing? The law provides that the Board of Supervisors is the fiduciary by law and subject to the prudent investor standard, so they are the ones responsible for the funds. The board actually just is using my existing staff to do it. So they basically replaced a 28-year public funds investor with the oversight, which is the board, which probably hasn't invested a dollar of public funds in their life. Now, they may have invested their own money. I'm not saying that, but they certainly have not invested public dollars before, and public dollars have a very high priority. So they are using my existing staff. It is very challenging because my staff should be doing what I want to do and carrying out my duties. So the way it's been done has been very challenging. They did the same thing when Chris Street was there, so it is a little bit similar, but I'm pushing back and said these are my duties that I should be doing, and I'm continuing, and it is creating some disagreement. But I'm here to do a job for you. I have my official duties, and I'm doing that, and then they are using my staff to do that, but the board is the one that at the top of the chain makes those decisions, and then they delegate some of that day-to-day responsibility down to the interim CEO and this county investment manager, which is the CFO. So good question on that.
Is there any way you can get it back? I mean, say right now we have a majority of Democrats on the Board of Supervisors. There's two Republicans and 3 Democrats. Has this occurred? Has it been pushed by the Democrats to take this away, Shari? That's just one thing I'm wondering.
Right. Well, I don't know. I've reached out to all of them to try to meet. None of them has reached back out to me. I have a management style that I expect accountability, and I expect work product to be good, and when sometimes they aren't, you have to counsel people. I don't know if that is, or if it's the election, we have a majority. You just have to have a majority vote to delegate that authority to me, but I don't know that majority exists. We do have a couple Republicans that are on there, and I can assure you that everything that I've done in my 14 years or previously have been done for what I thought was the best for taxpayers, and sometimes the bureaucracy may differ, and I've wanted to push my policies. That's why you elected me, to give my policies in place, not to just keep the same policies that may not be as effective. So good question.
Well, and for years we've had a majority of conservative Republicans on the board, so it's a big change, and the reason we need to get Diane Dixon to replace Katrina Foley.
Yes.
Yes. Anybody have a question?
Yes, back here. Uh-huh.
I'm concerned about scammers, and being a retired IT guy, I have a lot of people call me all the time with questions, and one of the things I see advertised on TV is this title lock.
Yes.
And a lot of us have ownership in our condos or whatever, or maybe outside property. How important is title lock, or is that just another scam?
Excellent question. So the question is on title lock. This is when you record your deed that basically shows that you own your property. Someone comes in, and the clerk recorder cannot validate that the person who's signing the deed form is going to be actually the new owner or the owner. It could be someone coming in and signing fraudulently for you. That's just the fact of the clerk recorder. But they have a really good process in place here in Orange County. When anything happens to the deed, the original person, the original owner, gets a copy in the mail. So if something happens, you should be getting a copy in the mail to the old and the new person, because title fraud does happen. In fact, interesting enough, we have a few large hotels just south of you guys here. I'm sure you could say the names of a few of them, but I don't want to it was public information. They were owned by a Chinese company. They bought the large hotels, and there was title fraud. They had someone who and we actually kind of caught part of it because we do the top 20 taxpayers. And so I'm like, gosh, this hotel is no longer owned by this large insurance company in China. It's now owned by this other person, and it was this funny name. It was a very odd name. And so we sort of looked at it and brought it up, but we didn't know that anything. And then shortly after that, we find in the paper that there was this title fraud, and they'd tried to sell the property and couldn't because they didn't own the title. So it does happen. I mean, it happened to a large hotel, a couple of them that were owned by the same company, the Chinese insurance company. But the clerk recorder sends it out. In addition, you can go to ocrecorder.com, and you can look up your grantor or grantee. So you can put in your name, and it will show you online if there's been any change in your property. Now, to get the change, you have to pay to see what the document is. But if you go on and look, then, and nothing's changed, then you know you're okay. So I would say it's not a good use of yours, but you have to be diligent. If the mail comes in, you want to make sure that you're looking for that, because they are out there trying to do things, and it's happened here in Orange County to a large, business entity. So thank you for the question. Did that answer? Thank you.
Shari, I'm very impressed that you have 75% now of people using online. Yes. In our club, when our members register, we now can use Zelle to register for our lunches.
Yes, I know. Thank God.
Yeah, and I know, and we are so proud of our members because they have really been adapting. And I'm not sure the percentage now, JR. Do we have a percentage now? 40%,
Wow.
and that's good. So we encourage you to keep, now that the county, we have opportunity with the county, hopefully we'll all be getting a little bit more up to speed and getting more comfortable with online and doing online.
Yes, because we always have the bills. We kind of started back in 2010. My goal was to just be like your bank today. You may still get a bank statement, but often maybe you just go online and look at your statement. We have 16 years of statements. The year I came in, I said, we're starting to leave these online. So again, we were ahead of everyone else, because I said, you need to be able to access your information online without having to call us for it. I mean, our call center volume went from 170,000 a year down to about 70,000 a year. And it was through attrition. We didn't eliminate any positions, but as we didn't have the need, again, it was your taxpayers' dollars, and that means more people are self-serving, which for us is great. But then the people that call get specialized help because we can take the time to take their call, which probably is a lot of your customers. But now you'll have my phone number, so you can always call me too.
Oh my golly, Shari, I'm so impressed with all you do. I mean, Betty, you read her bio. I don't know how you do all you do, but you certainly have so much. Yeah,
it's God up top. He gives us all talents, and you guys have your chairperson,
right.
Shirley and Joyce, people I've known for years here, all of the talents that each one of you have, and we just have to take those and try to do the best we can. And that's what I do.
Yes, we're so grateful to you, Shari, so fortunate. So can we give a big round of a hand for Shari?